Ladies and gentlemen, what a game. Last night we saw Ole Miss stun, the unranked Ole Miss, stun number 8 Kentucky with a statement win 66-57. But was it really a surprise if you are familiar with the Rebels defense? No, this is not a surprise. However, Kentucky was the better team and they did get got yesterday. Now, let's break down this game, how it happened, and what it means going forward. So, heading into this matchup, Kentucky, they were riding high, y'all. This team was kicking butt and taking names, right? The Wildcats had taken down some ranked teams so far, and with a 19-2 record, they were rocking out, right? Just cracked the AP Top 10 poll on Monday, and this was huge for them. Right? The first time that's happened in 4 years, and Kentucky was like, woo woo, we doing our thing with head coach Kenny Brooks in his first year, right? We got basically a Virginia Tech 2.0 with Kentucky, and they were rocking out. They were rocking out. They were doing their thing, but yet. They learned today. They learned yesterday, I would say, because Ole Miss, hey, they were not about to be anybody's stepping stone. Despite their 15-7 record before tip-off, y'all, Coach Yo's squad, they have been battle-tested against some of the best teams in the country. I'm talking teams like USC, UConn, NC State, Texas, right? They've lost those games, but the thing that we constantly saw with Ole Miss is just their experience at work, and more importantly, their defense. This team, yes, they've lost some games, but they are a defensive team. The Rebels came into this game with the best defense in the SEC this year in terms of points allowed per game, holding teams to 54.5 points a game. Like, that is a huge accomplishment. And for Kentucky, against Kentucky, that defense showed up in a huge way, especially in that second half. Now, early on, it looked like Kentucky might control this one, right? The Wildcats went into halftime with a slim but decent lead, 37-31, thanks to a strong first half performance. Shout out to Tiani Key for her first half performance. She ended up having 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 block shots, and 3 steals. But, despite what Tiani and other players for Kentucky were able to do, that second half, it was all about Ole Miss. Because Ole Miss stayed within reach in that first half, and Madison Scott, she was just heating up. So come second half, it was over. It was over. Now, guys, if y'all don't know who Madison Scott is, it's time to start paying attention. She delivered a big-time 22-point performance, 22 points, 6 boards for Madison Scott. But it wasn't just her, guys. The entire Rebel squad turned it up after the half. Now, this is kind of where they flipped the script, right? Kentucky just couldn't do anything against Ole Miss. Like, Ole Miss, yes, they have great defense, but like they're able to turn up the defense another notch, and that's what they did in that second half. Kentucky went over 2 minutes without scoring a point in the third quarter, and the Rebels, hey, they capitalized. You had Madison Scott hitting shots. You had KK Deans hitting shots, joining the 1,500 point club. You had Kennedy Todd Williams doing her thing, drilling a big 3 to get Ole Miss their first lead of the game in the third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, the score was 48-47. Ole Miss on top. And then, once again, the Rebels' defense continued to just suffocate Kentucky. Like, there was nothing Kentucky could do. Kentucky shot just 9 of 28 in the second half, including going 0 for 8 from 3. Why? Like, this is a Kentucky team that shoots threes, right? They're led by Georgia Amore, who she shoots threes for breakfast. That's just what she does. But yesterday, nah. Like, yesterday, it wasn't happening. It was not happening. Georgia Amore went 1 for 5 from the 3. Clara Strack went 1 for 4 from the 3, right? Tiani Key, she did her thing, going 2 for 2, but everybody else was pretty trash. Pretty trash from the 3-point line for Kentucky. Again, a Kentucky team that is a high octane scoring offense. But when that offense meets some fantastic defense, boom, they hit a brick wall. And that is exactly what happened in the second half yesterday. The Wildcats have been perfect, 17-0 when out shooting their opponents this season. But yesterday, no. Yesterday, it was like, nah. While Kentucky did have a better shooting percentage, Ole Miss, hey, they made sure that streak ended yesterday. And the biggest factor, guys, in this game was rebounding. Rebounding. Ole Miss dominated the glass, out-rebounding Kentucky 54-33. Wild. And you want to know a bigger stat? Bigger stat. Offensive rebounds, guys. This is the difference in this game. This is the difference. All right? Offensive rebounds, 27 boards for Kentucky. For Ole Miss. 27. You want to know how many Kentucky had? 4. 27-4. That's the difference. Yes, the field goal percentage for Kentucky is better. But if you can't get your own rebound, and you can't get defensive rebounds either. And yes, Ole Miss is missing more shots, but they're putting more shots up. And they're giving themselves second, third chances. It's over for you. It's over. It is absolutely over. Ole Miss shot 32% from the field, but they take 77 shots. And Kentucky, they only take 56. The Wildcats had only been out rebounded like 6 times this season. And this by far was the worst margin ever. You had 3 players for Ole Miss with 9 boards. And there was nothing Kentucky could do. Like there was nothing they could do. And the key was for Ole Miss is just every time that Kentucky tried to make a push, respond. That's what they did yesterday, and that's the result of this game. With just over 3 minutes left to go, Kentucky had cut the lead just to 2, but then Ole Miss went on an 8-0 run to shut the door in the game. We saw, Madison Scott, Star Jacobs making shots, right? Kennedy Todd Williams making stuff happen, and Kentucky, started fouling, because they were running out of time, and Ole Miss made the free throws, iced the game. It's over. Final score, 66, Ole Miss, 57, Kentucky. Now, guys, in this game, the thing that I absolutely love is Ole Miss's ability to just be relentless. Just be relentless. And guys, the fact that we saw such a terrible shooting night for a player like a Georgia Amore, right? A terrible shooting night for a player like a Deja Lawrence, like a player like a Clara Strack. That's defense, guys. Defense wins championships. Yes, Ole Miss is a unranked team right now, but they are a team that you don't want to face when it comes to the NCAA tournament. You don't. And what this means going forward is for Kentucky, this is a huge loss for them, right? And it could have NCAA tournament seeding implications. Because the thing to note is that Kentucky is about to have a terrible time coming up to finish out the SEC play, right? They're about to play Texas, LSU, Tennessee, and South Carolina. These are 4 huge games for Kentucky. And Kentucky has to pick off. They got to pick off, some of these teams. They have to if they want to have a really, really good seeding. Will they? I don't think so. Honestly, I don't see them beating Texas, LSU, South Carolina. Maybe Tennessee, maybe. But at the same time, I don't know about that either. Because, it's going to be a tough time. Tough time for Kenny Brooks to finish out SEC play. Yes, they'll make the tournament, but it's about the seeding that they're at is a concern. They are 5-1 right now against ranked opponents. But again, with those 4 amazing teams that they're about to face coming up, that record is going to change for sure. For sure. For Ole Miss, this was a signature win for them. Huge. And yes, it does also have implications for the NCAA tournament, because when you have big wins like this, like top 10 wins, it puts the committee on notice, right? They have beaten a top 10 opponent for the second straight season and are just once again proving that they're dangerous, right? When you have Coach Yo coaching against you, you better watch out for that defense. They're gonna build up the intensity as the game goes, and you better watch out. So they are 3-5 against ranked opponents this season so far, but with games against Tennessee, LSU, and South Carolina left, we'll ultimately see what happens. I could totally see an instance where Ole Miss, just because of their defense, ends up trying to pick off 1, 2, or maybe even 3 of these teams. Who knows? Anybody can get got. Anybody can get got. We continue to see this every single week. Now, guys, that was a game that, big teams get big wins. And that's exactly what Ole Miss did yesterday. What do y'all think about this game? Was this the biggest game of the season for Ole Miss? Ultimately, what do you think that this means for Kentucky? How do you think they will respond in their loss? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Make sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and stay tuned for more information on women's basketball. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.